Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you guys about what are the best self-defense guns for women, both for inside the home and also outside of the home. And I'm coming at this from the perspective of actually having trained hundreds of women just in this year, just in 2020. About half the people that I train are women. And as an instructor, I've been able to see which are the guns that it is easiest for them to use, easiest for them to hit the targets. Time is an important factor, okay? The guns that are easiest to use are the ones that they get best with the quickest. So that's an important factor in gun selection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first tell you guys what the guns are, okay? And then I'll go back and I'll talk about some other guns and why they're not such good choices. So the best gun that I have found to be for women for a home defense type of situation is an AR pistol. The fact that the barrel is short and it's not front heavy is a huge factor. Women are able to shoot this gun very accurately, very quickly. They're often able to hit their target with the very first shot. Guns like, a standard AR-15 like this, this tends to be a little bit longer, a little bit more front heavy. Even when I shorten this up for them, there's still a lot of weight up in the front, especially if you add a light like this, and it's just not pleasant for them to shoot. And if it's not pleasant for them to shoot, what I find is that they don't want to practice, they don't want to train with it, so it's a really bad choice. So the short ARs, like this one over here, is a gun that is a lot more pleasant for them to shoot. They like shooting it, they like hitting the targets, they like training with it. Now, a couple of features that are really important for your AR pistol is you have to have a sling, okay? You have to have a way to attach it to your body. You have to have a red dot on it, or a green dot in this case. It makes aiming a lot easier. You have to have a light on the gun. Okay, and generally I also recommend backup sights. Now, the nice thing about a long gun, right? Now, mind you, this gun might be short for me, but for most women, this is pretty long. Is simply by coming up and pointing their arm at the target, they're able to get on target. So what I find is that, for women, when they come up and, they're able to just point that arm, and they're already in the general direction of the target, and they're able to, they have a much better chance of hitting their target than with any pistol, and that's also true for men. Okay, so that's nothing special, that carries over. Now, as far as handguns, what I do is, in a home defense situation, I recommend the pistol as a backup to your rifle. Okay? So the way it works is, if you have a woman, she gets into some type of a grappling situation where somebody catches her off guard, or comes in through a door she's not expecting, or a window, and they're tugging on this gun to try and take it away from her. She then goes to her pistol, and she's able to use the pistol while they're busy trying to take this gun away from her. So the sling is important because it keeps the gun attached to your body, keeps them busy and occupied with this while you're going to your backup gun. Now, as far as pistols, one of the best choices that I have seen for women is this M&P 9 Shield, okay, in 9mm. The gun is big enough so it's got a little bit of weight, because here's the thing, if the gun is too small, I find that it's a little more difficult for them to handle. So it's small enough that they can get their hand around the grip and hold it, but yet it's big enough that it's gonna be somewhat anchored. Okay, you're able to change the sights out on this and put night sights on it. And the trigger pull is fairly light, so that they're able to squeeze that trigger without moving the gun all over the place. Now, one of the things that I explain to women, and is with the handgun, because your hands are closer together, with minimal training, what most people will do, especially most women, is that when they come out, they're going to be pointing the gun either down like this or up like this. It takes a lot of training to come out and present the gun straight out. Which is why the benefit of a rifle is that your hands are further apart, so you have a better sense of where the gun is pointed versus if your hands are close together. So that's why the pistol is always going to be a backup to your rifle. Okay. Now, for everyday carry purposes, obviously this is a little bit too big to carry around, So we're going to use the pistol, but the way I explain it is you use your pistol to fight your way to your home to get your rifle. Okay. Now let's talk about some of the other guns and why they tend not to be a good choice. I get a lot of women that show up to me with a gun like this. Okay, this is a small 380, and the issue with this gun is that trigger pull is extremely hard. Okay, really hard to pull. The sights are really hard to see on this gun. They're very low. So I find that most women have a very difficult time shooting a small gun like that. When they squeeze this trigger, they're all over the place. They're usually doing something like that. So they have a very hard time shooting this. Same thing with most revolvers. Is when women show up to me with a revolver, it has that long, hard trigger pull, because remember, that trigger has to pull the hammer back and also rotate the cylinder. And they're usually doing this. And again, if they're presenting the gun, they're usually either doing this or doing that. It takes them a while to get a sense of where the gun is oriented. It takes a lot of practice coming out. And most traditional revolvers, they don't have like night sights or anything, so they have these dark sights that are almost impossible to see in the dark. Like this one over here, you can't even change them out. So this gun tends to not be a very good gun for most women. Okay. For most guys, I usually recommend like a full-size Glock 17, 17 round capacity, but a full-size Glock, either 17 or 19, tends to be a little too wide. Women can't get their hands around it. What they tend to do is, in order for them to reach the trigger, they have to bring their hand all the way around like that. So now this knuckle is like over here. So the grip on most Glock 17s, 19s is simply too wide for women. So this M&P shield seems to be a pretty good size where they can grip the gun, get the knuckle on the side, and be able to reach that trigger. So this works well. I've had some women that have showed up to me with the 9 Shield Easy. Okay, the Easy is a slightly bigger version of this. It still only holds like 8 rounds, and the slide is slightly easier the slide is easier to rack, and the magazine, it has an assist that's easier to load. The problem that I have found with that gun is that it has a safety on the back strap, and if they don't get a good grip over here, it's not going to work. Okay, and sometimes people don't get good grips on guns. Now there's a lot of reasons. For example, if somebody is choking you, right, and you're grabbing for your gun, when it comes out of the holster, you may not have a very good grip on it. So that's just a realistic situation. I don't want a gun that has a safety back strap that you have to hold down. Now, on some guns, let's say like on a 1911, any amount of pressure on that back will usually release the safety. On the Shield Easy one, right? You have to have a really solid grip in order to activate that back strap safety. So if you're just on it a little bit, it's not going to work. So that's why I don't recommend the easy version of this gun. Just get the regular M&P 9 Shield. This is about the same size as the Glock 43. I have tried that gun. I do find this one a little bit more comfortable, a little easier to get your hands on. And I have switched out the factory sights. I put night sights on this. So this tends to be a pretty easy gun for most women to shoot. With a gun like this, you must carry it in a hard plastic holster. Okay, because this is the safety mechanism of the gun, right? The holster, when the gun is in the holster, you cannot activate the trigger, so the gun cannot fire. So normally I keep this gun loaded. When I get home, I take it off my belt. I put it in the safe without removing it from the holster, okay? Because I don't want to remove the safety mechanism for this gun. So I take this gun off my belt, and I put it in the safe inside this holster. Next morning, I take the gun the way it is and put it back on my belt. Okay, so the holster is the safety mechanism of this gun. I generally don't like guns that have safeties on the side, because if you use the safety, you're going to probably forget to take it off when you want to take it off, or you might accidentally put it on and you think it's off and it's actually on. So I do not like safeties on handguns. On rifles, on the other hand, because you cannot put this into a holster, you have to have a safety mechanism on the gun. Okay, so that's the safety. You got to have the safety. And the way I teach women and most other people to remember where the safety is, I tell them to kickstart it. So the safe is on horizontal, and when you want to come up and use the gun, you're going to kickstart it like a motorcycle. Okay, so that's the thing I tell them so they can remember, kickstart it like a motorcycle, take the safety off, and the gun is ready to work. Now, as far as the training, when I'm teaching women on how to use these guns, it does take something. The hardest part about teaching women to use an AR-15 is teaching them to lock the gun open, okay? Because you gotta basically push down on the bottom part of the bolt catch, pull it back, push this thing forward, okay, and put your safety on. Then put your magazine in, okay, then hit your bolt release. What I do with women is I have them drill that over and over again, okay? I have them sit there, lock it open, release it, lock it open, release it. I just have them do it over and over again until they learn this. Okay, release it. Okay, then I'll have them do magazine changes, right? Put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out. I'll have them sit there and flip the safety on, off, on, off. Okay, now one of the things I have found, okay, this, because this only has the safety on one side, I have found that having an ambidextrous safety on an AR-15 is really easy for women because sometimes they don't have the thumb strength to push it down, or sometimes they they have like a bad hand, right? I've trained people that have the what they call it, corporal hand, or whatever it is, the thing that their hands don't work really well, so it's hard for them to push it down. So if they're able to activate it from both sides, if they have an ambidextrous safety, I find that people, especially older people, older women, are able to flip the safety off because they're able to grip it on both sides with the thumb and the index finger and push it down. I trained one woman, and she was older. She was an older woman, probably well into her 70s, and she had arthritis. You can see her hand was like her finger was like completely bent. I pulled down an AR that had the she had a hard time flipping this safety off with her thumb, but when I pulled out the other one that was ambidextrous, she was able to flip the safety, on and off a lot easier. So ambidextrous safeties work really well for women because they're able to get that leverage on both sides, get the safety off, and get the gun to work. So although there's, like I was saying, there's a big learning curve with teaching women on how to lock the gun open and load it, right? So that's the lock and load. There's a learning curve involved with that. The benefit is they're able to do that well in advance. So in advance, they're able to lock the gun open, get the magazine in, chamber it around, put the guns on safe. Now you can put the gun away. Okay. So now if they need to use this gun, the gun is ready to work. All they gotta do is pick up the gun, get themselves into the sling, and all they gotta do is kick start the safety off. Okay. Get the red dot on target or green dot on target, whatever they got. Get the dot on target, kick the safety off, and the gun is ready to fire. And that's really easy training. It's really easy for me to teach women how to shoot AR-15s. It takes a lot more work getting them to shoot pistols well. Most women will often jam up a pistol because in order for the pistol to work, the bottom half of the gun has to stay steady while the top half is going back and forth. If you're letting the whole gun rock around, what's going to happen is it's going to either fail to eject or fail to pick up the next round and feed it. Okay, so I got to teach women to hold the gun as high as possible. Get this thumb up here, plug that, fill in this hole, and push their weight all the way forward so that the bottom of the gun stays steady. And the drill that I will have women do is I will have them hold the gun like this and just pull this back and forth. Because now what I'm teaching them is how much pressure they have to apply with this hand to keep the gun level while they're moving the slide back and forth. Because a lot of times they're doing that. And I'm going to be like, no, you can't do that. It has to be like that. Gun can't move. So that's an easy way for me to teach women how much pressure they have to put forward into the gun so that the bottom of the gun stays steady while the top is going back and forth. So between doing that drill and just doing the dry fire drills where I have them squeeze the trigger, keep the sights on target. When they press the trigger, make sure that front dot does not move. So I'm going to have them, repeat that over and over again. Okay, that's another drill I have women do. Just dry fire, focusing on that front sight, making sure it doesn't move off target. I'll do the same thing with the AR, making sure that red dot stays on target. I'll have them do magazine change drills. Do you have one here? No, I didn't bring one here. But I'll have them do magazine change drills. Just taking the magazine out, putting it back in. That's something, I'll have them learn how to lock the gun open. That's another important thing with the handguns. Just like with the rifle, the way you load this, right, is you first lock the gun open, then you put your loaded magazine in, okay, because it goes in a lot easier when the gun is locked open. If the gun is closed and the magazine's full, it takes a lot more effort to try to jam this in there, and especially with women, I find that they're not hitting it hard enough, so the magazine is just kind of hanging off the bottom like that. So they're not going to feed that first round because the magazine is not fully inserted. So that's why the procedure is always lock and load, right? Lock the gun open, then load it. This way you know your magazine's in all the way. Then you put this into battery, and then this goes in the holster. Okay, because the holster is the safety mechanism, like I said before. Another important feature is that the AR-15s are a lot easier to load. So, I mean, right off the bat, like a lot of times women will come to me and they'll want to shoot 9mm because that's just something popular that they've heard, they see it on television, and I'll have them load these. And most women have a much more difficult time trying to push that spring down and load it in. Especially as the magazine starts getting full, this is a difficult thing for women to do, for a lot of women to do. With the AR-15, you have a much longer bullet, so you're able to basically get better leverage. Just push it straight down. Take the other one, push it straight down. So again, this is a much easier sell. This is a lot easier to load. So right off the bat, just from before we even shoot the gun, just loading the gun, loading AR-15s is a lot easier than trying to load 9mm magazines. So that's another important consideration of that makes this gun a lot easier for women to that makes the AR pistol a lot easier. Easy to load, easy to hold up. Okay, you got that red dot, get that easy on target. Your hands are further extended, so you have a better sense of where that arm is pointed. Obviously, this is short for me, so I'm not able to get that same extension that I would prefer. I would prefer to have a longer gun like this because my arm's a little bit longer. So I want to come up, point my arm at the target. Wherever I point it, that's where that dot's going. Okay, so that's something that I teach women. And this is a way that they're able to accept this information and it makes sense to them. So that's why the AR pistol is really the best gun for women. And then the backup gun should be something similar to this Shield 9. That works pretty good. One other thing that sometimes comes up is the possibility of over penetration. And I have these barrels right here. I explain to women that, listen, I have shot both of these rounds through these steel barrels spaced 15 feet apart. Okay. The 9mm is going to go through 3 barrels. The 223 round is also going to go through 3 barrels. And usually in the 3rd barrel, I'm able to recover the 9mm, whereas in the 3rd barrel, I'm usually not able to recover the 223 because it's broken up. All you see is like little fragments of jacket. So the 223 does not penetrate any more than the 9mm, especially out of a pistol, because I have a pistol. When I test this, when I run this through a chronograph, okay, the muzzle energy on this is 650 foot-pounds, okay? So out of the 16-inch barrel like this one, okay, I get about 1,200 foot-pounds of energy. Out of the 7.5-inch barrel, I get 650 foot-pounds of energy. So basically, this is like a 357, high-end 357, low-end 44 Magnum. So this really has pistol power. In fact, I'm trying to remember, when I shot this through the barrels, I don't even think it got to the 3rd barrel. I think it stopped on the 2nd barrel, just because it's a really light bullet and it's coming a lot slower out of this AR pistol. So there you go. There's a couple of things for you guys to think about. And like I said, I'm coming at this from the perspective of actually having trained women. And I kind of just, I train them and I'm able to see what works best for them. A lot of times I'm in a situation where they go out and they buy the guns in advance of getting any training. So they come to me, and then whatever gun they have is what I gotta train them on. Okay, so they'll come to me with these pump shotguns, and under stress they are absolutely not able to pump the pump, reliably. They'll short stroke it. They'll drop the shells when they're trying to feed it. So pump shotguns are terrible for women. I've seen them, even for men. I mean, even men, they'll usually jam up the pumps under stress. Usually when they're coming to me with revolvers, I'll see that they're moving this all over the place when they're trying to shoot. They're all over the place with these small handguns. Same thing. They're because the trigger pulls are so hard. They're all over the place with it. So the best guns are an AR pistol. And something of the size of the M&P Shield 9. Glock 43 probably will work just as well, although I do find this a little bit more comfortable. So if you guys are not a member of the channel, please subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.